The overall performance of the Flex Draper from MacDon is, I guess, is just something that we're exceptionally satisfied with. Relationship with MacDon started 4 years ago with a 40-footer, and now we're running exclusively MacDon Drapers. We're just very, very happy. Our overall satisfaction would be, I guess you'd call it, be through the roof. With several different factors that play into that, with the sheer productivity, the ease of maintenance, the local dealership, the support program that they have. Between the speed, the length of day, the length of operation, our productivity has definitely increased as far as how many acres that we can cover, and I think that's a key today in farming, is trying to cover more acres with less expense and less machinery. And it's sure the MacDon has sure helped us meet that goal of covering more acres with less manpower and less machinery in the field. So it's definitely helped us be successful in that area. I think one of the advantages to me as far as crop recovery with the MacDon is being able, in early season beans, there's two main factors, I guess. They tend to shatter worse because they're usually drying down in warmer temperatures. They're maturing quicker, so we tend to see a little more shatter. So by the head being a little easier on the beans, it's really gentle bringing the crop in. The camming action of the reel, the way the belts bring the crop in real gently, I think has greatly increased in how many beans we're getting in the tank. I also think a big thing that has helped us is being able to tilt the cutter bar forward at a real steep angle and being able to just shave the ground. Early season beans, especially early varieties, tend to pod really low to the ground, and being able to cut right in the dirt has been a huge advantage of trying to recover some of those beans when they tend to get a little shorter with the early maturity.
Well, we try to buy good equipment because time's really valuable during harvest, and we've had good reliability with the MacDons. A couple of things we were looking for was increased productivity, and we get that with the MacDon head because it's a little wider than the machines we were using before. Another advantage of the MacDon head is that we have less loss at the sickle. The typical drum heads can lose a couple bushel an acre, and we don't have that with the MacDon head. The flexibility of the Draper is good for us because we farm some uneven land, and we need to be able to have something that will just follow the contour of the ground. The other good point about the 45-foot head is that it's big enough that with today's combines, if you can run slower with your combine and still load the machine, that's an advantage also, because you don't have as much shatter at the head. It just moves through the field good. We don't have very many issues that cost us time, which costs us money.
We used MacDon for the first time in the fall of '06 on double crop beans, and we were sold on it from that point. The limiting factor for speed and during harvest was the head. We weren't able to cut at a very high rate of speed, but now our combines are actually the limiting factor, our threshing capabilities. We have less head loss because of shatter with the MacDon heads versus the traditional platforms. And with the cross augers, we had roping and bunching, so it wasn't feeding uniformly through the combine, so we believe we've benefited there with just uniform feed through the threshing cylinder. Last year when we were looking, we were running a 40-foot cat head next to a 36-foot Draper, and when we were counting beans, we found 1.5 to 2 bushel difference. Pretty consistently. Sometimes it was 1, but that's why we feel that the difference in cost, the Draper heads versus the platforms, we've paid for that in minimal time. Most mornings, every morning we can start early. Sometimes we can start too early, actually. These heads will take it. The combine is the limiting factor on that, of separating it, but the heads will feed material that is too wet. So we can run probably a half an hour before anybody else can with a platform, and at least a half an hour later. The cross augers have always bent with rocks in the middle of our heads, and we don't have that problem anymore. The rocks actually just stop right there on that center draper and before it gets into the feeder house. Last year I was going around the field with a 36-foot draper and caught the slag off of a concrete corner post and bent the head back. It was tilted back, I bet, 15 degrees. And you know, less than a half a day, we had that thing back in operation. And if in the second time this would happen, I bet we could have it back together in 3 hours or less. They are just simple to fix. And we don't have that center cross auger to deal with. So once that bends, that is a real big issue. We've had that in the past too. So they are, if you're going to crash one up, you want to definitely do a draper. Actually, it's this first head coming. It's the head you see right now.
We bought the 36-foot Draper last year, ran it to full season, and this season here, you can literally sit in the cab and watch this head pay for itself with less shatter loss. Just is so gentle with the crop as it feeds it in, and just the ease feeding our machine just increases our efficiency of our machine by the evenness of the flow of the crop. This year we have a problem a lot of people do with the green stem beans, and we run a second machine with an auger head and have a lot of problems with wrapping and plugging at the feeder house. Just absolutely no problems with this Draper machine. It's just an extra a little bit of width going through the field too, picks up some efficiency there. In my opinion, the auger heads are about as wide as you're going to get them efficiently, and not you know, having the big wide auger, and boy, that 40-footer just fed just like a dream. We can start quite a bit earlier, and we can definitely run a lot later. It's just because of the ease of the crop feeding into the machine, and you just don't have that wrapping and bunching and the tilt. This head will tilt from the cab, and you can help keep from shoving on the ground and damp type conditions like that. Yeah, it's probably gained an easy hour in the morning and an hour in the evening. And an average shatter loss or harvest loss is 2 to 3 bushel, and you know, if we can cut that in half, you know, just a bushel or bushel and a half, $9 beans, that's a lot of dollars left. Just really like this outfit.
There's just no comparison between the MacDon and a tabled auger green platform. We've thrown a lot of different situations at it. We've had very tall, gangly beans, and so far any situation we've put it in, it's handled it just fine. Just don't have the bunch feeding anymore, and you know, it just cuts them off so nice and just sends it in evenly, and as long as the combine can take it, why, it's gonna deliver to the combine. I mean, it's just as simple as that. One of our concerns before we bought the MacDon was the cutting. We weren't sure, since it doesn't have, you know, a flexible cutter bar per se, or at least what we're used to on a grain table, on a bean head. I've really been impressed with that side of it. We're able to follow the contour better, really, we think. With this 40-foot head, we had a 35-foot flex platform before, and the 40-foot MacDon cuts the beans off closer to the ground and follows the train just as well, if probably better, we think, than what our previous head did. Another nice advantage on the sickle bar is it's also hydraulically driven. The other day I got a horseshoe stuck between the sickle bar and one of the guards, and instead of slipping the belt and burning the belt or burning the flat spot in the belt before you get it shut off, why, it just hydraulically, you know, kicks out the relief valve or whatever. So, you know, you just have to get out and find what the obstruction is and remove it, and then you're good to go again, so you don't do any damage to the belt or anything else, which is kind of nice. You're not having to replace, you know, belt once or twice a year because of flat spotting them. I guess it costs more initially, but we feel like we're going to make that back pretty quick on the shattering loss. You know, just in our situation, if we just get back 1 bushel per acre for, you know, the prices of the beans are now, we're, you know, easily looking at $10,000, you know, probably realistically closer to $15,000. We don't know why anybody would want a table augered bean head, basically. We just don't see anything wrong with it. Don't know why you wouldn't want one of those, I guess. I mean, it's just really as simple as that.
The thing that I really like about it is when the soybeans fall onto the Draper head, it's almost like a sickle bar mower. It just goes right onto it and gets taken away, and it doesn't slug through the combine at all. It's smooth and continuous. This year when we're running some 8–9% beans, you see a lot of people that have on regular combine that is just, the beans are just covering the entire field now that they're growing. You know, if we're losing a bushel the acre, it would surprise me when we do our counts. That's about all we're catching. We're probably losing more through the combine than we are through the Draper head. I do a lot of no-till and have a lot of traction on the surface, and it just still skims across it really nicely. Last year I did have a 2388. This year it's a 7010. I was concerned about, you know, the expense of adapting it from one combine to another. It does have a quick attach hydraulics, and it was easily accomplished for a minimal amount of money, and it operates just as well as what it did last year. Really pleased with the way I was able to adapt from the 2388 to the 7010. Everyone's used to seeing beans pop on the windshield in those really dry conditions. I may get 1 or 2 pops a day on a windshield. It just doesn't happen. If you want to increase productivity, save the bean, put it in the tank, the Draper head is going to be a unit you'd certainly want to be looking at.